What's good, guys? Derek here from Dasedesigns.com, and I'm bringing you guys my first ever music production tutorial. If you're not new to the channel, you've already been watching videos, you know it's usually based on logo designs, mascots, graphic design in general. And today's video is I'm going to be showing you guys how I make a melodic type beat, so like a trap type beat, more so focused on melodic elements and stuff like that, where we actually make them from scratch rather than using a sample and stuff like that. So it's going to be a full in-depth tutorial. That's why the video is kind of long. Hope you guys enjoy the video. I'm going to end it here and get started with the tutorial. Alright guys, so in this beat, I just started off with Omnisphere and I found this preset is pretty good. I might change it. It's called Dream Piano, super basic. And then I put some EQs on there. To do that, you simply go over to audio effects right here and then just double click. I usually just use the EQ 8. And then for this one, I just wanted to cut out some of the low end just because that's where the bass is going to be. So I use this one right here, so it's not so sharp of a cut, as you can see at the bottom. So it leaves some space, and then I put another one just to cut it all the way out, and then also to cut out some of the upper frequencies. So that's without it, and that's when I cut out some of the top. I don't want it to be so bright, and this is it fully without any holding back of some of the frequencies. So it sounds a lot fuller, but our bass is going to fill it up. So alright guys, so this is Derek from the future, and one thing I forgot to put in the video that I'm going to include now is how I built the chords. So just to start off, this is the chord progression right here. This is what it sounds like right here. And yeah, this is at its core. So when it comes to building chords or like building melodies in general, it's always best to just, if you don't have that much experience with music theory or what a chord is, you can just start with the first note that you hear and that you like, and then listen to your head for what you want to hear next. So for me, it was basically like this note, and then that one, then I wanted to hear this one, and then I also wanted to hear it again, and then it would repeat. So this is kind of like the basic of what I would have heard in my head. It didn't work out this way, so to speak, but this is normally what I would do. So after that, when it comes to building chords, you have to start adding more notes that sound great together to create more emotion that kind of fit with what you're going for. So for me, when it comes to doing that, an easy way to do it mathematically when it comes to what's it called, music theory, is to think about these few numbers and then implement those with each key. So they start off with 3, 4, 5, sometimes 7, and then 9. So what I mean by that is the first note that you heard in your head, the first ones that we heard, those would be 0, and then we would begin to count after that. So I have F right here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. So this is what that sounds like. It sounds good together. You may be thinking, what does that mean? This doesn't sound good together. Right here, you see? So it sounds a lot better. So after that, I kept counting. So this was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now it sounds like a chord, usually 3 or more. So yeah, that's one thing you can do, So I did that with basically all of these and kept doing that until I heard what I wanted to hear, or heard something that fit, sounded good, and that I just wanted to hear over again, right? So this is what I came up with. So yeah, guys, keep in mind, just start off simple if you don't know what chords are, and then try those notes. If I'm not mistaken, like that sounds good, right? Though, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Again, 3 and 7. This is a minor. This is F minor. So yeah, it sounds good. It doesn't sound bad per se. So yeah, guys, again, that's pretty much it. I wanted to put that in there onto the video now. And then what I did was I took these notes and I held shift and then selected them. That's to select them all, then hold shift and then up arrow, and that brings them up. That adds some upper melodies and stuff like that. And then I put these in. I just played them on my keyboard basically. And to do that, you can just go up to the top right, and then I'll zoom in on my screen and then just click this, and that's so you can play with your keyboard, as you can see. And by that I mean like the typing keyboard. This is kind of the melody I came with. So this last note, this D, it's close to C, and it really makes, when you, without it, it's just kind of lonely and empty. So I wanted it to kind of really repeat. So it just kind of sounds like it's just restarting over again. So once I come down from G, F, D sharp to D, you know, my ear, your ear, whoever, is kind of expecting C. So you hear C when it restarts, so it just wants to hear you want to hear it loop in your brain pretty much. So yeah. And now I want to get another melody or change this one, or another what's it called, another patch or whatever, another sound, something similar. Alright, so I kind of want to add another melody in, but just focus on the top, focus on the melody per se, so I can get rid of that. And then, so yeah, now these are just this is the main melody, so to speak, the thing that most people will kind of hum, so to speak. So yeah, hold Command or Control and then A, and that'll select all the notes, and then push legato right here, and that makes every note touch each other and cuts each other off for the most part. Alright, so now I'm going to try to change this to something that's more out there so you can hear it. It just makes the melody more pronounced. Because you can hear it in this, but I want more. See, I got these two pianos for the most part, and they kind of fill each other out. So I kind of want to add a counter melody, something that is different. The melody is different. Something like that, pretty much. Yeah, I like that. I like that. I'm not really a fan of the patch though. Anyways, I really like the sound. It was just super plain. Like, it's just really fire. I like it. Then I wanted to, so I initiated this, and this reverse thing just makes it sound super fire. So I left it in, and then started adding other shit just to repeat it, just so it's not so plain. Like this retrigger makes the last note play twice, and this reverse one just kind of reverses it like that. And then a ping pong delay just to spread it out a bit more. And then this one, this is kind of like an electric key, like electric piano. So instead, I just put the whole chords and melody. So these are both playing the same thing. The original piano, this, and this is just to fill it out. This one right here. And then I'm thinking of going like this. Something like that. So anyways, now we can get to the drums. It's like really loud. So yeah, anyways, I'm gonna go to my kit if I can find it. So yeah, I'm gonna start off with some hats. So yeah, to go up and down octaves on your keyboard, you can use the Z and the X keys. So you want to start off on C3 whenever you're loading in samples and stuff like that. And then I usually just play in a few, and then if you click this button up here, that's how you, it puts everything into the piano roll, and then everything was off beat, so I highlighted everything by Command and then A to select everything, and then Command U. That is how you, I forgot what it's called, but put everything on beat per se. Quantize everything, that's what it's called. So yeah, so now we got some hats right here. Alright, so I'm just going to stick with that one for now. It's like the vibe it gives, and I want to put a clap. Alright, so again, I usually like to play along. That's the fastest thing to do in Ableton for me, is just to play along with it. Whoops. And then just push this button up here, the square, and that'll put it in there. Alright, so at the end of this, at the end of the second bar, I want a roll to be right here, just to slide in, to roll into 2019, like roll into this, the third bar, like kind of roll into next year. So, okay, that wasn't right actually. It's like not fast enough. So to change these things, you'll notice the bars are changing, right? So you can hold Command and push 2, and that makes it smaller. So you'll notice 116, and when I push Command 1, it goes to 132, and then the more you push Command 1, that makes it smaller and smaller and smaller. Command 2 is how you make it bigger and bigger and bigger, as you can see. So, and then if I go Command 2, it'll make it bigger, as you can see, and then again, and then again. So yeah, and then Command 1. It's not making it go down, just the size of the note. So yeah, I just wanted to put that in there. So I'm going to try on a 1/4 note. Yeah, pretty much like that. And then the last one I want to go kind of like that, not a full thing. Not like that either. Oh yeah, and then Command 3 is how you go from triplet notes to 1/4 notes. So yeah, just keep that in mind. I want it to kind of be like a splash of a hi-hat or splash of like a roll. Yeah, like that. So it's not the full thing. So this one keeps rolling, and this one kind of rolls and stops. So yeah, just like that. Alright, so no 808 yet. It sounds retarded. So I'm gonna go to a kick instead. I like landing the kicks sometimes first. So yeah, whenever you're loading in samples, you know, so I got this set up. I can do that in another video, but yeah, so I got it for my music downloads or whatever. That's a folder I made on my thing, and then I got it so it's set up to this. So yeah, and then I just go over here to the kit, and then whenever you click on the sample you want, make sure you turn snap off, especially for hi-hats, because if you don't, it'll shorten the sample, which you don't want. So that's kind of the pattern I'm thinking for like the kick and the 808. So this is like super quiet. Alright, so now I'm hearing like a snare, a second snare. I'm pretty sure I got a good one that'll fit in my own kit. So yeah, Perky's. Whoops. No. Okay, so yeah, like I said, I usually follow along and play. So I'm using my keys, and then A is always C on your keys or whatever. So yeah, this is the one I want. This, and then I'm just going to quantize it. Command A to select it, and then Command U to quantize. shit. So yeah, we're at 130. Switched up. Alright guys, so I'm back and this is pretty much what I have now as far as the drums. And I want to put a kick on here. Oh, sorry, that's the kick right there. I want to add the 808. I'm just putting a compressor to sidechain the kick, so every time the kick hits, the volume of the bass drops. So you can say this yellow line is the volume of the bass. Right now, the 808, and then every time the kick hits, it triggers the volume of the bass to drop. And then this yellow bar, this light blue bar, is how far the threshold is, and then that's how much the volume ducks. So it's ducking about minus 12 or 19. I mean, decibels. So yeah. I feel like the low end of this kick is like interfering. So I might just pick a different kick. Like that one. Pierce is a bit better. Less low end in this one, which is everything below 100 frequency, 100 kilohertz. So yeah. So yeah, after this you pretty much have to mix it. I pretty much mixed it along the way, and the main mixing things are like to cut out the low end of your 808s. I kind of already showed you guys how to do that. Not your 808s, but the melody. And then, you know, just put an EQ in, and then just make sure basically everything below 200 is cut out. And then from there, 200 to 400 depends on like the bass you use in the 808 and stuff like that. So this is basically mixing at this point, and I'm gonna put in the 808. works pretty good. Both really loud, so the kick is at 0, and then the 808 is basically 4 dBs below the kick. Usually 4 to 6 below the kick is pretty good. And then I put a compressor on here just so it doesn't clash. And the kick punches a lot more. And then usually that clap, which is nice and loud, it's not too loud. Usually about the same volume as the main melody, or just like a little bit over that. So I can find the damn clap. So yeah, 4, it's at -4 dB, and then the main piano is at -5, so it's about twice as loud. And the piano is just kind of like an accent for the bells. Before we get to that, I want to put in the hi-hats. And I'm just going to start EQing out some of the unneeded frequencies in these things, like the clap. Usually anything below, let's say 200 again for a clap, probably be about 3 or whatever, but usually I just cut it off at like 100 just so there's nothing at the bottom. This is that perk. This is the snare. I add it after the clap and the perk. Do the same thing on these hi-hats. I usually use Valhalla reverb, and then there's another one, just the basic reverb somewhere. I never use it, but yeah, it's just called reverb. So you could use this instead. Dry, wet is how much. Like dry is the hi-hat, and then wet is the wetness level is the amount of reverb that you want to hear, or whatever the effect is. So halfway would be half reverb and half dry hi-hats, and then less and less. So if I was to use it, I'd probably use about 8. Sounds really good. Gives it some space, kind of puts it somewhere. And I might bring down the decay time. That sounds nice. So that it's like the amount of echo or space afterwards. So you'll see the length of the volume afterwards, the echo, the reverb is long, and then when I short it, it gets shorter. So the more the seconds, yeah. So yeah, anyways, now after we got that, you know, I usually mix my beats loud enough so I don't have to do too much adding of gain on the master. So for example, if this was normally how loud it was, I could turn this on and then turn the volume up until it's loud enough. About there will probably be loud enough. So most people don't have this. It's called the Hndrxx whatever limiter. So you could usually use the glue compressor. That's what I was using, and then just put on soft clip so it clips. It allows it to get that little crisp on the top whenever the kick hits. And then just turn it up. 7 was about loud enough, so it's about the same. Alright, so now that we basically got everything, it comes to just like laying everything out. So what I did right there, I usually put all my claps, snares, and like perks orange, so I know what they are, and then my hi-hats, open hats, crashes, anything I may have, I usually put those like these purple color. So just hold shift and then click each one, that will select all, and then right click, pick a color, and then also after you pick the color, do the same thing, and then assign track to color, so that assigns these bars right here. And then my kicks, 808s, and basses are usually red, and then usually like my tag and effects are like white or pink. Alright guys, so new day, new shirt, as you guys can see, and in this part of the video I'm going to show you guys how I basically lay out my beats, how to lay them out so you can actually listen to them, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that as fast as possible. So usually there's a few things to keep in mind: the intro, which is at the beginning, the hook, which is also known as the chorus, and then the verse, and then outro. So those are 4 different things to keep in mind. So usually the intro, which is basically right here, you could say, this is about 8 bars. So one thing to keep in mind, we're at 135 BPM, but we're in halftime. So if we were to divide 135 by 2, that's the actual thing, but it's just called halftime, usually in like trap and stuff like that. So when this says 17 bars, which means 16, just because it's the next one, it's actually only 8 bars when you're creating things in halftime. So this is 8 bars, and this is going to be the intro. So for the most part, this specific intro starts off with the first thing, the first melody. That's how most of the time it starts off with, is our piano. So this plays for the first 2 bars. Then after those 2 bars are over, I brought in the bells to fill it out a bit more, continue to advance it. And that's 4 bars right there. So for the second part of the intro, I made that more so a pre-hook or a pre-chorus, is when you kind of build up even more to the hook. So for this, I put in this fire-ass lead that we made, and then I also put in the 808, and I also did my little my producer tag right before it. So this is the transition kind of sounds like. And then this is the pre-chorus to finish off the 8 bars of our intro right here. So now once our intro is over, I wanted to add a riser and a crash just so it hits a bit harder. So I took a crash right here. This is what it sounds like. And that's what, I added some effects on there, reverb, ping pong delay. And then I copied and pasted that 1 bar before it, and push R on my keyboard just to reverse it. And then I brought the volume down a bit by taking off some of the end of the sample and then moving it over. So here's the rise, and then that's the crash right there. Just so there's a difference, it's not the same when they both touch each other. And then at the end of the intro, I wanted to cut off the 808 just so it's kind of a break, and it kind of gives it some space to build more anticipation, and it hits harder into the first 4 bars of our hook right here. So again, the hook chorus is usually 8 bars. And then so for this, I wanted to keep the kick and the 808 in because I didn't feel like it was good enough without it. So I kept the kick and the 808. Sometimes you can just leave the kick out of the first half of the hook, and then this will be that, which is good enough, but I wanted the kick in there. So yeah, the first 4 bars of our hook, I left the lead out and then just kept everything else, like the hi-hat, the main open hat, the crash, the snare, the second snare, the clap, and just the bell and the piano. And then to continue to build momentum to the final part of the hook, as you can hear, I added in the lead, and then also added in a second open hat, and this is kind of like the super basic, generic, like Southside open hat that hits on every beat. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so just more energy. And then to help the energy like be more than what it actually is, I cut out the kick and the 808 right before the second half hits. So, and then that plays for another 4 bars, and then I did the same thing. I cut out the kick, the 808, but this time I cut out basically all the drums except for like the clap and the snare. So the hi-hat, the second hat, and the open hats. So, and now we're on to the verse. So as I mentioned, the verse is usually 12 bars in most like modern trap. It can be 16. It just depends who the rapper is, and sometimes your layout doesn't really matter because they'll just do whatever they need to do. And yeah, 12 bars. I don't want it to be the same pattern playing over and over. Like, I don't just want to hear this the whole time, right? Like, that just gets boring and repetitive. So again, I took out the lead again for the first 4 bars, and then I made it similar to the first half of the hook right here, but I just took out the kick, so there's much more variation from the hook and verse, so you know it's not the hook anymore. So it's still fire, but it just doesn't hit as hard, and it's just more basic. So that's the first 4 bars of the verse. And the second part of the verse from bars 5 to 8, 5, 6, 7, 8, yeah, so 5 to 8, I brought the kick back in, and then I put the second open hat in there just to continue with that energy, but I left the lead out so it's not too much, and it's not the same as the chorus. And now this is kind of like a transition phase where it's pretty much different. So you're transitioning from the verse to the hook, and this is sometimes known as a pre-hook and a pre-chorus. So what I did for that is basically the same thing I did right before the hook drops at the beginning of the beat. So it was the lead, the melody, the lead, the piano, and the bells. So just those main instruments, and then the 808. And then also put the crash on here and the riser and stuff like that. So it just kind of leads into a transition into the hook. So you just know it's switching, it's advancing, it's moving forward. And then my little tag right there. And then again, I cut out the 808. And then we're back into the same pattern all over again. So basically what you can do after that is just copy everything you just did and then just repeat it, which is what I did. So, you know, you take the beginning of your hook right here, and then take the end of the pre-chorus or the pre-hook, and then once you have that selected, just Command or Control D, and then that'll duplicate it, and then that puts it over here. So that would fill out the next hook, hook number 2 right here again, 8 bars, and then verse number 3 or verse number 2, which is again 12. And then so before the final hook, you know, the third hook right here, we did the pre-chorus thing again, but this time I just cut out the 808 just so it's different from how it's been previously. And then that's the way when you cut out the 808, it'll hit that much harder. It'll be perceived that way when the third hook drops. So yeah, then we lead into the third hook, which is exactly the same as the first and the second one. I just decided to leave it the same. Again, 8 bars for the third hook, and then I have the outro, which can usually be anywhere from 4 to 8 to 12, just depends on the artist and the type of beat. And for this, I did the same. I basically did the pre-chorus or whatever, pre-hook, but I left the 808 in, and that's also why I took it out of right before the hook right here, just so the ending would be different. And then yeah, here's 4 bars for the outro, and I put the low riser just to build some anticipation, just to end the beat off. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for how I make like melodic, sad type beats. For the most part, it's not super sad, but yeah, melodic type beats. That's pretty much how I make them, from starting all the way from scratch to finishing them, arranging and everything like that. Hope you guys enjoyed this video tutorial. I know it's been long. It's like over 30 minutes, but I tried to include as much as I can without overdoing it. But yeah, if you guys would like shorter videos, just let me know, and I can just do it a little bit differently, and it'll probably be about half the time as it took to watch this video. Unless you guys like these more in-depth type tutorials, and let me know in the comment section, and we can keep them rolling. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for basically most of the drum samples I use in this video, like the kick, the 808, the hi-hat, the second open hat, the clap, the perk, the snare. Definitely check out my drum kit, the Daze Origins drum kit, linked in the description. You can check that out on my website for these samples and a whole lot more. And yeah, guys, that's it for me. I'm signing out, and I'm going to end the video with playing a little bit of the beat so you guys can hear the finished thing, and I'll catch y'all later.